All right, how are we doing, everyone? As I've announced in class, unless you're going to watch this video before, I'm not going to be doing the um, coding instruction, the Unity part in class. We're running out of time, and there's still some other stuff that we need to cover. So this is going to be at home on your own, or I'll give you some time in class to do these. So these are just going to be follow-along tutorials. Um, so today, this one specifically, I'm going to be covering two things in here. We're going to cover changing scenes. I'm sure a few of you have already looked into this, but I want to make sure that for those that haven't yet, at least give you an initial idea of the basic scene manager and switching between scenes. And then also going to be discussing the Singleton, which is a design pattern which allows you to save data and information. Pretty much can save anything from one scene to another. So we're going to set those up today. So I've got my Unity open. I'm once again just building on the project we've been building in class. For this one, we're going to switch back and forth between the sample scene and the data scene. So I'm going to start in the sample scene because that's where I'm at. We want to create, we're going to do the Singleton first. So we're going to create an empty game object. We're just going to call it Singleton because that's just easy. It can be called whatever. A lot of times what I use this for is when I want to pass player information back and forth between scenes, so like player health, bullets, inventory, whatever that is. This allows for that to be easily passed back and forth. You don't want to put anything too crazy because this can create kind of a bottleneck. There is a bunch of discussion on whether or not the use of singletons is a good thing or a bad thing. For me, I found it helpful when I'm wanting to have multiple scenes and I want to just keep track of my player information. So that's what we're going to show in this. So we're going to create the singleton. And we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to save this scene, and then we're going to open up our data scene, and we're going to repeat it, create empty singleton. Done. So we have those there in both of our scenes. All right, then what we want to do is we're going to go to our scripts. We're going to do create a new C# script, and we'll just call it Singleton as well. For that to process through, then let's go ahead and we'll just write the script first. So we'll come here. On this, what we're going to do, everything, we have all our uses are there. We don't need our start and update. What we're going to do instead is we're going to set this up as a singleton. So we want to do a public static singleton instance. And to make it so it's only looking at itself, we want to, and not coming anything from outside, we can get information from here, but any of the setting of this is going to happen inside the script alone. All right, and then since we're going to pass, for this, we're just going to pass player health back and forth. And so what we can do is we're going to create a public integer. We'll call it player health. We won't set it yet. And then what we need to do for this is private void awake. And we want to first say don't destroy on load this game object. So when we load a new scene, it destroys everything. Like literally, it's just like, open up the trash can. We are throwing it all away. And so what we want to make sure is that this does not get thrown away. And so that's going to create a new area that's called Don't Destroy Unload, which I'll show you as we work through this. We want to make sure that this doesn't get destroyed, right? We want to keep knowing what the player health is across the scenes. And then because we have to have the singleton game object in all the scenes for there, what we're going to do is if instance doesn't equal null and instance doesn't equal this, right? What we're going to do is, so we want to just make sure that the instance, if the instance isn't there and the instance doesn't equal this specific one, we're going to go ahead and destroy this game object. Basically what we're doing with this is if there's already an instance, which we set originally, so that's going to be set in our original screen, and as we pop into the new one, if we already have one set and it's not this one, destroy this one, right? This is the one that doesn't, the extra version, as I would refer to it. And then, if that's not the case, we want to say that the instance equals this one, right? So this is the first one that we load. It's going to set this is the instance. Then every other time we start a new scene, we want to make sure that we don't delete this one, but we delete the one that's on that scene. So that's going to take care of that. And that's all we have to do, right? So this could have a bunch of functionality in it, different calls to be able to get player health, whatever that is, right? This could be data storage, kind of that whole game data area. That's where I tend to use it the most. All right, so with this, we've got that done. We're going to go to our singleton on our data scene. We're going to set that, or drag the script onto there. We'll save the scene. We're going to then go to our other scene, which is our sample scene. Add the singleton to here. Go back. Too many clicks. Go back to add the singleton to it. Okay, we'll save that. Now, the one thing that we've got to do, which is nice, is you don't have to build to check out the changing scenes, but we do, which we're going to need to do to be able to see how that singleton works, which we're about to get into. But what we do want to do is go to our build settings, and in our build settings, we need, currently I just have data scene. What you have will depend upon probably what you built last. So if it's neither of them, so it's like, oh crap, this was the boss fight scene, right? Like, okay, we want to delete that so we can delete them all. Then we want to go through and add the open scene, so that'll add our sample scene. And then what we're going to do, I'm just going to dock that up there for the moment. We'll go to our other scene, which is going to be our data scene. And then we want to add, it made it too small. Come on. We add that to the open scene. So now we have both scenes in there. So we're going to be able to bounce back and forth between those scenes in play mode. We don't actually have to build. We just have to make sure in build we have both the scenes we're using there. So we can go ahead and close this. All right, let us go ahead and create the change scene. So to do that, we need to add a new input for doing that. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a new action to my my controls. I'm just going to call this scene for scene change. We'll have it just be a button. That's great. And then I'm going to select, as soon as it gives me the ability to record, I'm just going to make it the X button or button west. We haven't used that one yet. I'm just going to once again set it to both control schemes, just in case I forgot to put it, change one of those at some point. So that now allows us to call, use the X button to call the scene change. So for that, now we're going to create one more script. create C# script. Let's call this switch scene. And then we're going to open up switch scene. I'm going to remove the start and update because they're just not necessary. We want to add using Unity engine scene management. So that's what's going to allow us to be able to go through the scenes. And for this, we're going to do, because we now have, let me bounce out here real quick. We're going to put this on our player where we have our player input. And so these were all the functions that we can call to in our code that are tied to our controller inputs. And you can now see on scene is there. So we can just do the public void on, capital O for on scene, which is the action that we have. Oops. And then we're going to simply be able to go back and forth. So what we can do is do an if scene manager dot get active scene. So we want to know what scene are we currently in and what is the name of that scene. The name of the scene is literally the name of the scenes here. So what we can do is name equals sample scene. Oops, got to be spelt right. That's important. We can also reference them, but I've just found this to be easier. As long as you make sure that your spelling is correct, this makes it super easy. And so then what we do is we're going to say scene manager dot load scene, and we're going to set that to data scene. Right? So if we're in the sample scene, we push our button to change scenes, take us to the data scene. And then we're just going to do the same, else if scene manager dot get active scene dot name equals data scene. Right? So now we're in the data scene and we push our button. We want to scene manager load scene sample scene. So this is just going to allow us to bounce back and forth between those two scenes. This could take you from level 1 to level 2 to level 3, level 4, whatever it is. This can be tied to not a button. This can be tied to a doorway in a different game or in one of your games. This could be tied to putting in a code, an elevator, whatever that is. This can be connected to it. But we're just going to use a button to bounce back and forth for this. I've got that saved. So let's come back here to our data scene. On our player, we're going to add the new script, switch scene. We don't need to do anything else except for save the data scene. Switch over to our sample scene. Come back to the player, because once again, we're using the player input here for that. And then drag our switch scene back. And go ahead and save. All right, we've got this all set up. So let us hit play. We're in the sample scene. What we've got, if you scroll down now, we have so many bullets. But we have this now, don't destroy unload. And it's got our Singleton in there, which is great. So what we're going to do is in that Singleton there, I'm going to change this to 10. And I'm going to hit my X button. And you can see the scene changed, right? Now I have the black and red blue guys in here. And now I've got my Singleton here, and it says 10. Perfect. Let's change it to 20. We gained some more health. And now we're going to go back to the other scene. So I'm going to push X again. Everything disappeared. Our Singleton says 20. So this is a great way of doing the scene management, changing your scenes, and also being able to pass data along from scene to scene to scene. Once again, really only use that for, there's many ways you can use it, just be careful. It can really tie things up in a bottleneck at a certain point if you do too much. But but this will allow you to at least pass that basic data along, the player data, that can then be used throughout the game. And then if you do a save like we've done previously, save load, you can save and load that information, save from the singleton and then load to the singleton, so your player and information stays there. So I hope this was helpful for those of you that haven't already explored these things on your own, and I'll catch you in the next video.